Greetings of peace, and thanks for tuning in. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. And in these videos, we prepare for the arrival of Imam Mahdi, as well as the return of Jesus. Peace and blessings be upon them, and they're also known as the Mashiachs in the Jewish tradition. So we're going to be looking at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially with the recent attacks from both sides, from the Israeli and the Hamas side. We've got Quran verses to help us understand, warfare from Allah's point of view, and as well as Allah's point of view in regards to the Israeli minds, the unjust, hypocritical Jews, the Zionist mindset, military mindset. So we've got some Quran verses to help us understand that. And just to give us an overall understanding of the situation, now, the State of Israel was created 70 plus years ago by the, let's say, just to keep things simple, the Western ruling class. So they're the ones who created the situations, and they're the ones who are perpetuating it. So until they decide not to, have a colonial outpost called Israel in the Middle East, this, disharmony and aggression and oppression of the Palestinians will not cease. So it is the Western ruling class that are to blame, first and foremost, of the situation. They're the ones who are created it and perpetuate it, and then you've got guys like Trump who want to come in and pretend like they're going to save the day with the Abrahamic Accords, where they're just, aligning other Western ruling class puppets like the Saudi regime, the Israeli regime, to normalize ties and make it like it's all hunky-dory, when originally they're the ones who created the problem in the first place. So it's the famous line that David Icke has mentioned: problem, reaction, solution. So they created the problem, create the reaction, and then a guy like Trump wants to come in like he's going to come in with the solution, which is complete nonsense. So that's the cause of the situation, and they're perpetuating it. And as Putin realized, and it took him a long time, that you can't negotiate with these types of criminal, oppressive tyrants, unjust ruling class of the West. And I know I live here in the West, so I know how unjust the ruling class is here, and how much they lie and deceive and cheat and steal. And they use the guise of the Jewish people and steal their names and steal the land of the Palestinians, just like colonial style would. You got to remember, the West here in America, we were birthed from colonialism. England back in the day colonized the Indians here in North America, and took over their lands, and they're doing the same thing in Israel and the land of the Palestinians. So there's no negotiating with these people, as Putin realized with his situation in the Ukraine, where NATO, which was the Western ruling class, was amounting large amounts of military on the Russian border. They were oppressing the Russian people in Ukraine, and a lot of oppression and killing was going on there unjustly, and Putin did the right thing by defending those people and taking over that land, and they will probably be much better under the Russian Federation. So the same thing is going on in Palestine. The Israelis are trying to take over their land. They use the guise of, they're name stealers, land stealers, they're stealers of all kinds, and they're liars, they're cheats, and they use the media to propagate all sorts of nonsense and disinformation and lies to fit their agenda, which is clear to see. So, there's no negotiating with those types of people, that you have to use military conflict to resolve this situation. And that's just the bare bones of it. So let's get into some Quran verses that give us a greater understanding of warfare and the mindset of the Israeli, the unjust and hypocritical Zionists, that their mindset of in military conflict. So here I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. So turn to Allah seeking His mercy, and whatever may your differences be in a thing, the ultimate decision of it rests with Allah. Such is Allah, my Lord. On Him alone have I always put my trust, and towards Him do I turn, seeking His mercy. So in this situation, and in all situations, we put our trust in Allah. We know that Him is the ultimate decision. And we know that we are going to win, because they have to defeat us up here. You have to remember that this world is the land of the dunya. This is the land of illusion, and the egos have gone wild here. So all this colonialism, this is just egos on a power trip. Democracy is all set up is for ego rule, so their egos can run the show, and the supreme creator of all that exists, who's all powerful, all knowing, all seeing, who has supremacy over all things, is not in the picture. So democracy is ego rule, and as we see, the egos have run wild, hoarding, monopolizing, colonizing, oppressing others. So let's take a look here, as what Allah says here. As Allah does not change the condition of a people until they first change their ways and their minds. So if our minds are strong, if we are in alignment with Allah and obedient to Allah, then we will win in the long run. So the hypocritical Jews will not fight against you, offering a joint front, because of their fighting spirit is weak, because their hearts are divided due to their mischief. So they, the hypocritical Jews, will not even fight against you, offering a joint front. They will fight only from within fortified towns or from behind ramparts. Their fighting spirit among themselves is desperately severe. Do you think them to be united, but their hearts are divided? That because they are people who do not refrain from mischief. Now, does that not remind you of Israel? They have all sorts of fortification, ramparts all around Gaza and the West Bank. They drop bombs from afar, and they're very timid to go in mano a mano against the Hamas groups, as well as Hezbollah and other groups. So their fighting spirit is weak because their hearts are not strong. They're divided. So I think, militarily, it's very good to launch offensives against the Israelis, the Zionist regime there, because they are weak in their hearts because of all the mischief that they are doing. So Allah has decreed the war against the aggressor, so that He may admit the believers, men and women, to paradise. Allah has decreed the war against the aggressor, so that He may admit the believers, both men and women, to gardens with running streams to keep them green and flourishing, the gardens where they will abide forever, so that He may absolve them of their evils. This indeed is a supreme achievement for you in the sight of Allah. So obviously the Israelis are the oppressors, they're the colonizers, they're the ones who are stealing the lands of the Palestinians, oppressing them, bombing them. So Allah has decreed war against the aggressors. So, the surrounding, people of the world, like Israel is an existential threat to all of the Middle East and Asia, because that's just another satellite state of the Western ruling class, where, this is an existential threat to Russia, because if Gaza and the Palestinians are out of the way, well, the next sites are Egypt, Iran, Lebanon, Jordan. Israel is not going to stop with the Palestinians. So it's an existential threat, not to the Middle East, but even to the greater Asia, like the Russians, and China, and Pakistan, and other areas. So fight them until persecution is no more. And fight them until persecution is no more and religion is freely professed for Allah. But if they desist from hostilities, then remember there's no punishment except against the unjust who persist in persecution. So, being obedient to Allah is to fight this persecution of the Israeli regime. Fighting has been ordained for you. Fighting has been ordained for you, though it is hard for you. But it may be that a thing is hard upon you, though it's really good for you. And it may be that you love a thing while it is bad for you. Allah knows all things while you do not know. Let those who prefer the hereafter to the present life fight in the cause of Allah. Let those who prefer the hereafter to the present life fight in the cause of Allah. And whoso fights in the cause of Allah and is killed or conquered, we shall soon grant him a great reward. We have to remember that this world, this dunya, is an illusion. That we are not really our bodies. We are souls, our spirits exist outside this dunya. And I've had out-of-body experiences before, so I know for a fact that we exist, and it's beautiful on the other side. And what excuse have you to offer that you would not fight in the cause of Allah and for the rescue of the weak? So this is directed to the surrounding, countries around and the countries of the world. Why are you not helped for 70 plus years? Why haven't you helped the Palestinians? And what excuse have you to offer that you would not fight in the cause of Allah and for the rescue of the weak and downtrodden men and women and children who say, "Our Lord, take us out of this town which people are tyrants, and grant us a defender who comes from you and a helper by your own grace." Allah will always go thwarting the war strategies of the disbelievers. That is what happened in the Battle of Badr, and know for the future too that Allah will always go on thwarting the war strategies of the disbelievers. Believers, when you encounter a host, remain steadfast and remember Allah much that you may triumph. O you believe, when you encounter a host, remain steadfast and remember Allah much that you may triumph. And go forth wherever light, being ill-equipped or heavy, being well-equipped, and strive with your possessions and your person in the cause of Allah. That is better for you if you only knew. Believers, when fighting once starts, do not slack to sue for peace. You will certainly have the upper hand. Allah is with you. He will never let you suffer a loss in reward of your good deeds. Never look for peace with the Israelis. They're going to cheat. They're going to lie. They're going to use that to their advantage. And only if the Western powers, the Western ruling class, want peace, then we choose peace. But any other way, there's no other way. The disbelievers will be the victims of their own strategy of war. Do they intend to wage a war against you? But remember, it is those who disbelieve that will be the victims of their own strategy of war. Indeed, Allah loves those who fight in His cause in compact ranks, so arrayed as if they were a solid structure cemented with molten lead. So Allah loves when we fight for His cause, when we fight for the oppressed, when we fight together, when we don't slack and try to sue for peace, that we strive hard in the cause of Allah. We remember Allah so we can be triumphant. Allah will go on thwarting the strategy of the disbelievers. And what excuse do we have that we don't fight for the downtrodden people of Palestine? So, there's so much to say, but we'll end it here. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. Take care.